Castillón Confidencial by Albert Castillón. Welcome, how are you insiders? Thank you for being there. We're spending August together and that's not bad at all. Here we are, still in the trenches, keeping an eye on current events and getting ready for what's coming in September. In fact, it's about to arrive, and in places like France, it's already underway. I'm talking about chat control. If you're taking advantage of this summer to send messages on social networks, WhatsApp, Telegram, or Signal, do it freely because this might be the last summer you'll be able to do it this way. From now on, your end-to-end private messages can be scanned. The European Commission allows it, and Spain has been the first country along with France to say, I'm in, of course, right? Anything that has to do with social control, Sánchez is delighted. In France, they have already banned minors under 15 from social media. This will happen starting September 1st unless their age is verified first. And that's where the catch is. If, in order to prevent stalkers or pornography from reaching minors, we have to monitor everyone else, over 400 million people, something's wrong, isn't it? From now on, you won't be able to. No, depending on which messages or photos or videos, without providing a series of personal data that will be held by the operator you use for the social network, but which your government will have access to. In our case, Pedro Sánchez is extremely dangerous. If you write, Pedro Sánchez, I like fruit, and they ask you for login details, what do you think Sánchez will do? What will he do with your information? He definitely won't give you a medal. That's the point. From now on, if you send a message that the current government considers offensive or dangerous, they can delete it without a court order. And in this, gentlemen, both PSOE and PP in Spain are in favor. They voted together in Europe to speed up the process. The European Union will present the final report in the fall. There is no scientific consensus. There are a lot of scientists who believe that when it comes to monitoring information that could harass minors, that's what parents are for. They are responsible for minors, and that there is no need to control the whole society for that, to 450 million users of those networks worldwide. The truth is that the European Commission has been wanting to control social networks for a while now, wanting to control all kinds of information that slips through their fingers. Our fellow journalist Unai Cano told us about it here.
Each network, months ago, already had to give in on that point because the European Commission pressured so that the regulations and policies of each social network would be similar. This is something that has generated a lot of conflict between Elon Musk and the European Commission itself. In fact, Elon Musk got fully involved in the last elections held in the European Union, and we've seen him directly campaigning for some candidates when elections have been held on the continent. So really, at this moment, the policies of each social network are quite similar because they are the policies imposed by the European Commission. By the way, the European Commission, for example, announced a new anti-racism guide 2 days ago, which will start to be applied to all public positions or jobs within the European Commission. They discussed anti-Roma, anti-Black, and anti-Jewish racism, but never mentioned anti-white racism when there's more anti-white racism than ever in Europe.
We are seeing how they want to relieve us of our responsibility as parents by saying that they will take care of everything. How dangerous this is. And as I was saying, Spain wants to be the first country to implement this using the emergency procedure. Look, in the United Kingdom, in just over a year, 12,000 people have been arrested. 12,000 because of a rule like this. Because of a law where any information they don't consider appropriate is considered a hate crime. 12,000 people arrested in 1 year. Will we be like that next summer in Spain? Some, like Spanish television, are rubbing their hands together and have launched an age verification app for the internet. They've been pioneers. They love everything related to social control. They say it's easy. First, you download the Spanish television app, then you register, and that's the trick, giving all your information, and then they verify your identity. All of this, gentlemen, is just an empty gesture. It has been shown that 80% of minors manage to bypass these controls that the European Commission wants to implement, the chat control, and that will end up being applied in our country with that excuse. To put an end to harassment of minors, they will monitor what we do, what we say, what images we send to family or friends, what videos we post on social media. In addition, they will analyze with algorithms what we write in chats or what we say in voicemails to friends or family. It's the end of privacy. Until now, messaging systems like Telegram, Signal, or WhatsApp had that guarantee of privacy, which meant that no one interfered with what we said in them from end to end. From the person who sends it to the person who receives it. That's over. That's history now. What's at stake is the trail of private communications of 450 million people. And we're going to lose it this fall. Chat control, watch out. You will be the main victims. We won't be able to chat anymore. One more step to end Europe's freedom.
Yes.
Castillón Confidencial by Albert Castillón. On the show, we try not only to point out what isn't right or report what we consider illegal, but also to offer options, look for solutions, set the pace, and tell many public officials what they should be doing but aren't. And after the invasion of Ceuta, we have to take action because they're going to try again. They already did it in 2021. And in 2026, with almost 100,000 people, when will the next one be? There are those who point out what politicians in the opposition should do. And the first thing is to form a united front. One person who's showing the way is Marcos de Quinto. How are you, my friend? How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Well, just like everyone else, outraged by everything that's happening.
It's no wonder. I don't know about you, but beyond Sánchez still being on vacation and His Majesty the King in Mallorca, I also don't see a united opposition here presenting a united front against the invasion. What? Yes.
I think they should, of course, unite. There are different things that need to be addressed, but right away. So I have a few ideas about what should be done on the domestic front and others about a diplomatic offensive. Regarding the internal front, because there's been a lot of talk about whether this is a state of emergency and so on, look, the state that needs to be declared is a state of siege, which is made specifically for this kind of situation. That is, there is a state of alarm, a state of emergency, and a state of siege. The state of alarm is used more for disaster situations. The state of emergency is for when there are institutional problems and so on. But in this case, in the wording of the law, which I believe is Organic Law 4 of 1981, it specifically mentions when we are invaded or our borders are not respected. And that's what has happened. So there should be an immediate declaration of a state of siege. On the other hand, the immediate closure of our borders with Morocco, but all of them, meaning all land borders, all maritime borders, and also the air borders. That is to say, not a single damn piece of merchandise should pass between Morocco and the Iberian Peninsula until all of this calms down and stabilizes again. Of course, militarize the sovereign territories we have in Ceuta and Melilla, and also in the Canary Islands. We need to deploy the Legion in our sovereign territories and, of course, the Navy as well. Because what stands out is that Margarita Robles, when it comes to the Gaza flotilla issue, well, she sends a frigate there. And, well, that's good. And that the waters of La Mareta are protected, because Sánchez is spending his vacation there. Or that they send the Navy to pick up small boats thousands of miles from the Canary Islands. And yet, with this threatening situation, they haven't deployed the Navy. Also immediately in Ceuta and also in Melilla a curfew. A curfew must be enforced so that anyone wandering around or out there after a certain hour is detained. For example, in the football stadium in Ceuta, so that people aren't out there wandering around until they can be identified and sent back. Of course, also immediately deploy the army in helicopters. They should shoot, and the civil guard should target all the engines of all the drug boats. We need to put an end to this drug trafficking right now, which somehow seems to be tolerated by the government, the same government that withdrew the Consor Group. The Consor Group needs to be reinstated, and this has to be taken very seriously, including jet skis and so on. They should be shot at by snipers from helicopters without using the boats, pick them up, and of course imprison them. And, well, many things should also be reconsidered from a domestic point of view. For example, certain areas are being granted to Morocco for specific operations, such as explorations within the territorial waters of the Canary Islands. That needs to be stopped immediately, and of course, possible responsibilities that this government could have for the crime of high treason should be investigated. But a very important front that I believe is absolutely neglected. It's the diplomatic front, especially within the European Union. I encourage the PP and Vox to somehow unite because the PP is the second largest party in the European People's Party. It has strength, it has something to say. And on the other hand, Santiago Abascal is the president of the Patriots Group in Europe. Then we have to unite the European People's Party and the Patriots Group once the European People's Party stops flirting with the Socialist Group, which is even more important, is Sanchez's group, and demanding the breaking of any preferential agreement with Morocco and considering sanctions against the Moroccan oligarchies. That is, at this moment, their bank accounts located within the European area could be frozen, or also, well, have certain Moroccan assets within Europe confiscated from them. That would immediately bring Morocco to the table. Morocco would have to reconsider everything it has done, but that needs to be done immediately. Morocco would be absolutely devastated, because if you cut off all the flow of goods and also shut down all their drug trafficking business that they have set up with, I think it's with the complicity of our government, because otherwise none of this makes sense. Well, it's the way to break the deadlock and really put your foot down, because this can't keep happening. That appeasement policy that's always being used with Morocco, what we need to do once and for all is show our teeth and respect the dignity of Spain. And looking to the future, Albert, I would try to have Ceuta or Melilla take inspiration from Gibraltar. Why is Gibraltar respected? Well, Gibraltar is respected, among other things, first because it's a military base, a British military base, where even nuclear submarines dock and so on. And what Ceuta and Melilla need to be are military bases where we really have a deployment of forces there, and not what we have now, which honestly I don't even know what it is. On the other hand, also provide them, just like Gibraltar, with a privileged economic and financial status that allows those places to prosper. And that leads to a population that is prosperous and happy, which is what's happening in Gibraltar. So, indeed, let's look at that as an example. And let's do exactly that, because that's the only thing that can make those places in some way untouchable. And on the other hand, on the diplomatic front, immediately, both the leaders of the Popular Party and Vox should go together to request an audience with the United States Secretary of State and also with Israel, because we need to immediately restore relations with these countries. That's what I've been doing. For many years, Morocco has been buying off members of the European Parliament. I believe there are 60 members of the European Parliament involved in taking bribes from the Moroccan government. And they've been doing the same thing in the United States. In the United States, with a very strong lobby, and by hiring people. Now, I think Sadie has written a very impressive article about how they got in. For the American congressmen, the government of Morocco has been doing this for a long time. They've done it very well, and we need to have a diplomatic front to counter all of this. So, I support this. I don't have much hope that these things I've mentioned will be done, but I think insisting on them in some way might help to make it happen.
What we want is to confront them with reality, because what's happening now is absolute inaction. Although, Marcos, I'm surprised that Ursula von der Leyen, being from the People's Party group, congratulates Morocco and Spain for how well they've done. How do we understand this?
Well, look, I understand it from the point of view that people were discovered receiving money from Morocco, and I think there are too many people getting paid by Morocco, and there are certain people who are really favoring Spain. We joined the European Union, and they gave us a few handouts, but in exchange, they asked us to destroy our industry. If you remember, when we joined the European Union, Spain was the world's 9th largest industrial power. Now, well, we're practically nothing. They only left us with the primary sector and tourism, and now it seems they don't even want to let us keep the primary sector, because maybe they're much more interested in bringing products from Morocco. And well, if that means destroying the Spanish primary sector, then they'll leave us with only tourism, and that's all we'll have left. Because they can't take the sun and Spanish beaches to Denmark or Norway, because if they could, they would, and we'd be left with nothing. So, well, what we need to do somehow is put our foot down. And I repeat, if the Spanish People's Party is the second largest party in the European Parliament, listen, then stop crawling to Ursula von der Leyen. Tell Ursula, listen, if you want us to keep voting within the European People's Party group, let's break off relations with the European socialists, and besides, there are no socialists left in Europe, only the Spanish ones remain. And let's join with patriots to protect our borders and so on at this time. This is going to happen sooner or later because in Germany, if not, the German People's Party, which is the CDU, is going to lose elections, and right now the ACD, Alliance for Germany, is already ahead of them in the polls. It will also happen in France and here in Spain. But I mean, if it's clear that it's going to happen, please, if they know perfectly well that people in Europe want to put a stop to immigration, then hold a European referendum. Why isn't there a European referendum? Why aren't European citizens given a say? Because they would agree to secure our borders. Poland did it, and the eastern borders, and also the southern border, need to be secured. The problem is that our leaders are focused on something else. They aren't focused on defending their citizens, but on something else, which I don't know, though I suspect it's due to a lot of corruption with the Europeans. And more will keep coming to light, and in the end, I think people will end up kicking them out.
We Spaniards are clear about who our enemy is, which is Morocco. Just as we are clear that the government is allegedly being blackmailed by Morocco. We know all of that. How do we wake up civil society? I mean, if they see a legion of people in Ceuta or Melilla carrying out a joint action, I think the United States, Israel, and Morocco will start to look at us differently. How do we do it, Marcos?
Well, the first thing for me is to denounce the corrupt actions of this government. Most likely what may have happened is that Morocco did this because Morocco got nervous. That is to say, most likely they have some kind of agreement with Sánchez, where little by little they were perhaps moving towards some kind of co-sovereignty because Sánchez has been giving away Spain piece by piece and making its breakup easier. And when Morocco sees that maybe things aren't moving forward, when Mohammed VI sees that maybe Sánchez is pulling a Puigdemont-style coup on him, and that things aren't moving forward, and on top of that, Sánchez might leave the government. And if Sánchez leaves the government, then everything he might have been promised about moving forward in certain talks towards some kind of co-sovereignty could go down the drain. So then it's approved. Morocco is nervous, and has done this to bring him to the negotiating table, or even to force even the next government to negotiate. The response has to be forceful, along the lines I mentioned earlier, but this needs to be called out. What agreement exists? What agreement exists? And this is probably what could constitute the crime of high treason. Sánchez has already given it away. The Sahara to Mohammed VI. And he has given away the Sahara without even consulting his own party or his partners. Sánchez has also abandoned the defense of Gibraltar. We had the upper hand. And he has given up our negotiating position with a third country, which is Great Britain, which is not part of the European Union, and he has let the European Union handle the negotiation, so that Great Britain will do them the favor if we lose. Of course, co-sovereignty within the Rock of Gibraltar and what would be the reintegration of the Rock of Gibraltar into Spain, which is what should happen. And if we also lose Ceuta, then we've lost control of the strait. And in the future, control of the strait, as we've seen with the issue of Hormuz, is vital. They would even charge tolls for those controls over the strait. But logically, the United States believes that a partner like Morocco and another like Great Britain are more reliable, and not this Spain run by Sánchez. That's why I say the diplomatic front must immediately establish contact with Marco Rubio and explain things to him. And somehow, well, try to remove Sánchez and this government of traitors from the equation, who will end up breaking Spain apart. And they will have, well, some pretty hefty accounts in certain countries outside of Spain, which is where I think they are planning to move there in the future, because traitors like them, as we've seen, we lose control of Ceuta, of the authorities. And the strait's controls, as seen in the Rock of Gibraltar,
I hope they leave soon and then are brought to justice. To finish, this gives us even more reasons to take to the streets again in September. Has a new protest for dignity been confirmed?
yes, a new March for Dignity has been confirmed, the second March for Dignity in Madrid, which was amazing. We brought 300,000 people to the streets in a march from Colón to the Arco de la Victoria, and in September we are going to hold it again. Forgive me for not telling you the date. We have a date in mind, but we want to do things right, so we will confirm that date at the appropriate time. Right now, we are waiting so we can make it happen. We'll have to file the applications around mid to late August, so we'll have all the permits and be able to announce it properly.
We will be there supporting that March for Dignity. What times we are living in. I hope this nightmare ends soon. Marcos de Quinto, thank you as always. A hug. Thank you.
For the work you do.
A hug. Castillon Confidential by Albert Castillon. Friends, we also like to give you good financial advice with the help of Sindota Group. When debts pile up, one of the main concerns for any family is to avoid those debts leading to losing their house, their home. It's the most valuable asset for any family, and sometimes just to keep that home. Struggling with mortgages that get paid 1 month and not the next, sometimes we end up losing much more than we gain. We want to talk about this with the financial expert from Sindota Group, Ruben Lopez. Welcome. How are you?
Albert and Confidenciales, good morning. How are you?
I like knowing that I'm not the only one working in August. I like it.
Like good self-employed workers, Albert.
Yes, sir. Hey, maybe in Spain we cling too tightly to housing, and sometimes we lose a lot because of it, don't we?
It's a cultural attachment. As we've more or less talked about before, 75% of all national savings is invested in housing. And this means that historically, the only real goal of a father is for his son or daughter to get married, become a civil servant, and own a home. And this often leads to an obsession with owning a home, which can put us in a position of debt that we might not be prepared for.
Yeah. Hold on to the house or let it go. What should we do?
Well, in the second chance process, which is more or less, let's say, the main concern we find among the people we advise, this is the big debate. What's going to happen? Am I going to lose my home? Am I not going to lose my home? If I lose my home, should I not go through with this process? The thing is, we have to keep in mind that many times, Albert, the house is the main financial burden in that personal financial situation. We always have to understand that each case has to be handled individually, right? There aren't two identical solutions for two different people. And sometimes it's worth liquidating the house in this process. And there are situations where the judge decides not to, but many times we want to hold on to that, and it's like trying to do the impossible.
Right. With the second chance law, do I lose my home if I take advantage of that law or not?
By definition, no. When that inventory is made, when we weigh what I have and what I owe, the judge will determine if liquidating the house will allow the creditors to recover their money. But there are many times when the only creditor owed money for the house is the bank, and in that case, this doesn't go anywhere. So, by definition, Albert, using the second chance law doesn't mean losing your house, but it's true that there are many circumstances where it might be necessary. Necessary, or it might be worth it, and that's something worth studying, and that's what we do, of course.
Of course, how hard it is to tell a family you're going to get out of this hole. The judge is going to let you use that second chance law, but you have to sell your house. It's complicated. That's kind of like therapy, isn't it?
Yes. You also have to understand that the judge is not going to allow us to end up in a worse position after going through the second chance law and getting the discharge than we were in before. What do I mean by this? A judge, if he knows that by using the second chance law, your debts are wiped out, but the fact that you're left without a home will mean that you'll have to go into debt again, even if it's just through rent, in order to have a roof over your head. We agree that it's leaving us in a worse position. So, no, like I said, there aren't two answers, not even two identical answers for two identical people. Two twin brothers with the same job apply and they won't get the same answer.
So, Ruben, is it true that rule about not spending more than 30% of your income on housing, for example, on paying the mortgage?
By definition, the bank is not going to give us a mortgage with a payment that exceeds 30% of our monthly income. This, by definition, has been part of the bank's lending criteria since the 2008 crisis. What happens is that many times we start out in a certain financial position and maybe we lose our job, and the new job we get has lower recurring income. So we are actually exceeding that 30%, even though initially the bank approved us because we were below that 30%. We should act before we become so indebted that we can't pay for the house and risk losing it by either finding new income sources or renegotiating the mortgage while there's still time.
I mean, when we start having serious difficulties, for example, paying the mortgage, a call to Sindoda Group can put an end to that problem. You can see the phone number on the screen, the usual one. It's available all over Spain, 911-08-7109. And ask, it doesn't cost anything, right? Ask about your case, explain the situation to them. The first thing you have to do is talk about it, right, Ruben?
That's right, Albert. We shouldn't be afraid, really. A lot of people come to us and we can help. We've already helped more than 100 million and thousands of people. But we should be aware that the sooner we use that lifeline you have with us, the free call, the sooner you'll be able to know what your real situation is. And don't wait until it's too late and the consequences are worse.
Happy summer, keep working and keep helping the confidential audience. Ruben Lopez, a hug.
Same to you, my friend.
Castillón Confidencial, de Albert Castillón.
Castillón Confidential by Albert Castillón. Sánchez continues his endless vacation at La Mareta in Lanzarote. No head of government, not just in Spain but in Europe, has taken 5 weeks of vacation, although he interrupted them briefly because of Ceuta to save face. No one in Europe takes a month off for vacation. In fact, it's making news in several European Union media outlets. And he did it as always, blocking off his space and surroundings like a dictator. Look at this map. This is the blocked area, the maritime zone blocked by Sánchez. In this square you see, which covers more than 500,000 square meters, almost 800,000, I'm told. There you can't take pictures, you can't fish, you can't swim, you can't sail, and you can't even get close. More than 60 security agents protect him and his family because they are all there. There's Begoña, the accused, his convicted brother, his 2 daughters, Sanchez's parents, as every year, and maybe he will receive Salvador Illa. Every year, the eminent Illa shows up there after what he did during the pandemic. He should be hiding or asking for forgiveness. And the one who won't be going this year for obvious reasons is Zapatero. One of Zapatero's villas is very close by, and he used to be seen there every year. This year, it's like, who? Who are you talking about? No, who's Rodriguez Zapatero? They're trying to distance themselves. The control is so absolute that there was graffiti at the entrance of Teguise in the north of Lanzarote. You're seeing it. It was published by OK Diario. This is less than 2 kilometers from where he's spending the summer. All right, well, Sultan Sanchez ordered the graffiti to be erased so that the guests going to La Mareta and passing by wouldn't see it. What do you think? That by erasing Pedro Sanchez, I like fruit, which is what the graffiti says, they won't do it again? They erased it within 24 hours. You just saw it. You know what's worse? He has put cameras on every corner and is using the GRS. It's the elite unit of the civil guard. They shouldn't be dealing with things like this. They should be in Ceuta controlling jihadists, right? The 10 that slipped in, or 20 or 30. Well, the reserve and security group of the civil guard, a good part of it, is at La Mareta taking care of the tyrant. They say that between plainclothes, bodyguards, and everything else, Sanchez's security costs exceed 200,000 euros. And as you can see, there are more people watching over Sanchez at La Mareta than there are in Ceuta guarding the border. I have messages, some of them are wonderful. Well, the ones you send me are always wonderful. Before we listen to opinions, there's one from Jose Angel that we need to address. It has to do with the celebration about the throne day that was held at the Embassy of Morocco in Madrid.
Look, I wanted to comment on the topic of this meeting at the Moroccan embassy, right? First of all, regarding Judge Pedras, I think you're the only one who has given that information, at least as far as I've heard, right? Almost everyone has focused more on the journalist issue, right? And here I wanted to make a point. And the thing is, I was always struck by the appearance of someone named Mohammed, just Mohammed, on this man's show. He's a man who tries to whitewash the Moroccan dictatorship while telling us how we should run Spain. It always struck me, you know? From the very first times I saw this man, he seemed to me like a Trojan horse for the Alawite regime.
What you're saying is very interesting. First, it's true, Judge Pedras was there, as you can see in the footage. And about the show, you're referring to Nacho Abad. Look, I've only been there once, and I've asked Nacho not to have me on his show again for personal reasons. I don't want to do TV anymore. But I joined online, and it was to talk about this, about there being a plan to invade Ceuta and Melilla. That was a year ago. I made that appearance on that Cuatro show from my house online. And it's true, I know how TV works. I told Nacho that I agreed, that I was doing it for him because we've worked together for 10 years, but that after my appearance, he should say goodbye to me, that I wasn't going to join any debate with anyone at the table. And they kept their word. I explained the plan, finished, and said goodbye. And when I finished, they went to the table and there was someone named Mohammed, period. That is someone who uses an alias, obviously paid, it seems, by the government of Morocco, who started bad-mouthing me. That's nothing new. Why does a TV channel like Cuatro have someone who is paid or works for or only speaks well of the government of Morocco? What's this about? Why? What's going on? Does our enemy also have to be on our country's television? What you say is very interesting. Well, then I saw Nacho Abate at that embassy, and I didn't understand that either. You can't spend the morning criticizing an invasion and then have a drink with the invader. More messages. Enrique, Begoña, and David.
I think that what Morocco is doing with Ceuta, they'll do with Melilla next. But that's just a distraction because, in my opinion, they're much more interested in the Canary Islands.
When you see the king, you see that the king doesn't have the courage this takes. You've got a lot of nerve when your country is being invaded, when the people of Ceuta are going through what they're going through, when there are 100 dead and you're on vacation on your little boat. When they come after him, he'll ask us for help.
I was hearing that we weren't going to stop the immigrants with bullets, but that we could stop them with high-pressure water. Besides, we have the sea there. I suppose there's a desalination plant, and I guess the army could set up high-pressure pipes along the entire border with high-pressure water on the beaches so they can't get in. but not in the water itself because that would be dangerous. And against the fences on the land area, well, it could be perfectly controlled 100% or at least to a great extent.
Yes, you're absolutely right, David. There are already many countries that use high pressure water. Look, the ones who are being brutal in repressing people are not the Spanish, it's the Moroccans. Look at scenes like this. They really get to me, brutal beatings that they're giving to the protesters just for going out into the street, right? And there's one that's especially cruel. This one you're about to see, a police officer picks up a large stone and throws it at the head of someone who wants to leave the country. But what is this? Where is the Moroccan police? In what country did they learn to commit such atrocities? I mean, the high-pressure water almost seems kind in comparison. Well, there's more. I have breaking news about Loreto Hurtado. Do you remember her? Loreto Hurtado was the head of the Department of National Security, a high-ranking military officer in the Prime Minister's office. The day after the invasion, she posted a note on the security website saying that 49,000 immigrants had entered. This was on a Friday. She went on vacation starting Saturday, August 1st, and they fired her on Sunday. They called her on the phone and told her she was out. Why? For having written the report saying that 49,000 had come in, which we now know is many more. Even Marlaska admitted almost 80,000, you know? This outrage, this way of firing people who aren't loyal, meaning who don't lie, it has caused such a reaction in the Ministry of the Presidency that nobody wants to take her position. And they can't find anyone to be the head of the National Security Press Department, which is a high-ranking military position. That's something that happens in dictatorships, that in the end they end up very much alone. More messages. I want you to listen to Juanjo. Very interesting reflection he makes about the colonies. Next, Kema with a proposal, and Sofia from Italy.
Ceuta isn't a colony, it's an autonomous Spanish city like Melilla and the Canary Islands, or are you going to claim the Canary Islands are a colony too? A colony is a territory ruled by a foreign country. We are not foreigners, not from Ceuta, Melilla, or the Canary Islands. And as I said before, they can turn things upside down, change the text, and say whatever they want, but that's written in history and that's how it is.
I'm Kema from Valencia. Here is my proposal for those in Morocco on the 15th. Let's see. All Spaniards who have 3 days off take food and drinks for 3 days and head to Ceuta. Let's see if we can get 200,000 or 250,000 Spaniards together there. And when those Spaniards have spent 3 days and their time is up, they should be replaced by others who arrive as the previous ones leave. And there should always be 200,000 or 250,000 Spaniards there with food and water for 3 days, for 10, 15, 20 days, however long it takes to defend our borders. What do you think of the idea?
And of course, Pope Leo XIV expresses his solidarity with those he calls the occupiers of the Spanish city of Ceuta. No, Your Holiness, they are not occupiers, they are invaders. You who don't let any of them enter the Vatican, because those who dare to enter, as they have done in Spain, you fine them up to 25 euros and in some cases even sentence them to up to 4 years in prison. You who, when you recently came to Spain, didn't even go to Valencia to show solidarity with the Valencians. More than 300 people in Valencia drowned because of the negligence of Pedro Sánchez, who dared to say publicly, if they want help, let them ask for it. But he didn't give it to them. And he didn't go to Adamas either, where 46 people died. Always because of the negligence of Pedro Sanchez's government, since the money for railway maintenance is spent on their own interests.
And if you'll allow me, there's a video that explains very well what's happening in our country. Mass regularizations, pull factor, grandchildren law. And yet there are people here in Spain, people of foreign origin who work, who pay into the system, who pay taxes, and who are denied residency in our country time and time again. The story of this girl was sent to me by Esperanza Macarena. She is a girl from one of the Eastern European countries and more Spanish than many government ministers. Listen, they don't want immigrants like her. Listen.
Yeah, no, they don't want immigrants like me. I just confirmed this by submitting my application to renew my residency here again. This is unbelievable. I mean, I stayed quiet for a very long time. I didn't want to make a fuss, but guys, I've been here for 16 years. And now watching these videos, and I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I need to share this with someone because, well, let me tell you a bit. For those who don't know me, I've been in Spain for 16 years. I have 2 degrees, I speak 7 languages, and I have many, many days of social security contributions here in Spain. And I was just rejected. The decision hasn't come back as negative yet, has it? Everyone was in shock, saying that, Natalia, they're accepting people at immigration, accepting people with criminal records. I mean, criminals. They're accepting criminals who just arrived from countries where they don't even speak Spanish. I don't care. But on a cultural level, they're not compatible with us. But let's put all that aside. What's going on? What's going on? Can someone explain to me what's going on? It's not just about me, what's happening to this country, because this is my home too. And the house, I was thinking about the future, having a family here, children. And I don't understand what's happening. They don't let me stay here. Another immigrant wants to take my place. I've received letters. Letters saying that I have to leave the country for a certain amount of time. Me, I've never done anything wrong here. I've always been, excuse me. No, because this is really hard and I have to forgive myself.
This woman gets emotional and it's no wonder. I'll tell you what's going on. It's very simple. She is a self-employed professional. She thinks for herself and supports herself. She is hardworking, speaks a lot of languages. She would never be out of work. No one is interested in an immigrant like that living in Spain. They're interested in someone with a low economic status, dependent and backward, a miserable little allowance so that the current government and possibly others to come know that they have them tied up and well tied with a leash around their neck. I'll increase your little allowance if you behave, and if not, I'll kick you out of the country. That's what they're after. Captive votes through poverty and misery. That doesn't make a country grow, but it does keep dictators like Sánchez and others in power. I hope this young woman's situation gets resolved. The video has gone viral and we need to make sure she doesn't leave Spain. There are a few million people who should leave before she does. Well, we're going to the newsroom and then I'll tell you more. Susana Gas, tell us.
Here we are, Albert, in the Castillon Confidential Newsroom. We're receiving a lot of messages and opinions from all our insiders, many of whom are on vacation, but they keep writing to us. That's the case with Sylvia. She says that we Spaniards need to stand up now and demand the resignation of the entire government because of how badly they're behaving. Jaquetismo says that as for Zapatero, in any other country he would never see the light of day again, but here in Spain it's different. Javier says being a socialist means having little and losing, but after years in government, you end up with a lot, as shown by Pedro Sánchez and his associates. Norberto says that justice for the powerful is still different. We pay and they enjoy. Antonio says that farmers, ranchers, fishermen, and the self-employed are exploited by politicians. We give a lot and receive nothing. We also have a message from our friend, in this case Friedi, who says that in a few years Spain will be covered in solar panels. China will be super connected, happy since it will be able to feed the AI. Devia says greetings to everyone from Venezuela. I follow you every day. Keep fighting for freedom of expression. You won't silence freedom of expression, and hopefully Venezuela will be free. Encarnacion says that we are suffering under a totalitarian government, but it's been like this for many years. And we'll leave it here, Albert. It's important for you to follow us on all our channels because, as you know, it's crucial to stay well informed. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you very much, Susana. There's more in a minute.
9,159,300 491. Completely trustworthy.
Thank you for sticking with us and for keeping our side well informed. In Peru, there's a supporter named Juliana with a beautiful voice who has sent us a very kind message. Let's listen.
Juliana, good morning to all the supporters. I encourage you to subscribe to reach more people because that way the channel will grow and multiply. We will be better informed and have more hope. We will be stronger. And in addition to that, if all of us could donate, even if it's just €1, this channel would be even stronger. So please, everyone subscribe, donate, comment, and share this channel.
Thank you very much, Juliana. A big kiss, and let's see if one day I travel to Peru since I don't know Peru and I get to meet you. Christina Dolores RL has made a donation and we appreciate it very much. Ricardo Tepunto and our friend Diego Torres. Diego is always there every month and he says the information you give us is essential to stay up to date. Thank you very much, friends. Well, and Fernando Simon has appeared. How could he not show up with everything that's going on? Listen.
Spaniards, you shouldn't worry because only 7 or 8 Moroccans have entered, nothing more. The situation is under control right now. 3 of them have already gone back the way they came, and the rest, if I'm not mistaken, are engineers and a surgeon, according to the information we have so far.
And that this person who did so much harm, so useless, is still the General Director of Emergencies. My God, what a country. Well, the best of the videos we've received this week so far is the one you're about to see. Instead of Blue Summer, Abdul Summer. I won't say anything else.
We need to be quiet for a moment. I heard someone shouting.
It sounds like Pancho's voice.
Yes, it seems like it's him.
The fishing trip is on.
All right, stop. We haven't paid for the copyright, and you'll see the trouble this music is going to bring us, Juan. You need to cut this now. All right, and then there's a man, I'm sorry, I really didn't want to bring this up, but in the end, you guys are forcing me. There is a prominent local Spanish politician who has a street named after him in Toledo, specifically in the town of Ocaña in Toledo. The man, he was a longtime stalwart of the Spanish Socialist Workers' Party and served as deputy mayor. He passed away in September 2023, that is, very recently. By one of life's coincidences, he's in the news today because his name was Julian, his first surname was Mata, and his second surname was Sánchez. Take a look.
Come on, Julian, damn it. You are our last hope, Jornal da Manhã.
I'm not going to make any more comments. Well, more Moroccan humor. Jose Carlos sent it to me. Of course, with the buoy in Ceuta, they're having a blast. Take a look.
Today, in Moroccan humor, the contestants have to run across the buoy on the Ceuta breakwater. What they don't know is that we've covered it with camel hump oil. Moroccan fun.
First contestant. He climbs the buoy. Watch for the red float.
Careful, I'm slipping.
Help me, I'm falling.
And our contestant ends up on the Spanish side and he gets a little handout.
And a brand new cell phone.
I fell into the water, but I won. Thank you. A trip to Spain and a cell phone.
Will we end up like this? Will we end up like this? Don't doubt it. We're almost there. Well, I really like this one too. Ana sent it. Imagine a suitcase. Begoña Gomez, Sánchez packs a suitcase and fills it with Red Bull. Pedro, what are you doing?
Nothing.
I'm going to Ceuta. And the cans? Well, you never know. In case I have to take off in a hurry. Well, something important. Pay attention. It's going to be uploaded today. It should already be up by now, posted on our website, Castillon Confidential, with a petition to collect signatures to deliver them to the President of the European Parliament. It's important for everyone to cooperate because we need to do something to put an end to these atrocities. Christian Lawyers is the organization that launched this initiative. It's addressed to Roberta Mezzola. No more European aid to Morocco. That's what's being demanded after the Ceuta migration crisis. It has collected more than 10,000 signatures, and you can sign it at the website castillonconfidential.com. To ask for European aid to Morocco to be withdrawn, the more of us do it, the better. And the last one for today, Mari Carmen. Who's going to be Pinocchio? Well, Sánchez, of course.
Look, David Sanchez is not my brother. He's David Sanchez. It's true that we've crossed paths a couple of times in life, and that's about it. As far as I know, he speaks Nepali and Mandarin Chinese and is very hardworking, but that's all I know. With Begonia, it's pretty much the same. We've seen each other a couple of times to go to the movies and have dinner together, and that's about it. Besides, she's a hardworking woman. I think she's a house painter. Perdón, de brocha gorda. I talked to Abalos one day by chance because we happened to be in an elevator together at Congress, and that's about it. I only know Zapatero because he was the president of Spain, and I didn't even know he was from the PSOE. I didn't know the fixer Larry Diaz either, just like Koldo, Sánchez, Zerdan, and the rest. I find it incredible that people think I'm a liar, and it's all because of Franco and the far right. Luckily, I have a bunch of old ladies and geezers on my side who support me because I raised their pension by 50 euros a month, even though the cost of groceries far exceeds that pension increase. And now, with your permission, I'm going on vacation for a few days to take a well-deserved break, because destroying a country is very exhausting.
Yes, it is, but you're on the right track. Friends, thank you for staying there in the trenches. Happy August. We'll be back together tomorrow.
You know it and I know it. We are confidential. You are confidential. I am confidential. All confidential. All confidential. But shh, only for open minds and for aware people.
Thank you.
From the trench, the bullets whistle and there's no way to get out there. Here, freedom has wings of wax, Alberca when seeing Castellón. Susana Gash. You girls, neither me nor the others. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Castellón Confidential by Albert Castellón.